Hey all, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our video first look and hands-on review of VOLTA. This is a magnetic charging cable kit. So it uses these strong earth magnets and these pogo contact pins to magnetically connect to the adapters, which is using traditional ports like Lightning for Apple, micro USB for an older Android device, and USB Type-C for a newer Android or MacBook. So you simply insert one of these tips into the port on your phone or computer, and then this part will magnetically attach for charging and data transfer to begin. The benefits of having this magnetic solution is you don't have to keep on plugging things in and out of the ports, which reduces the wear and tear on your device, and also just makes it faster in day-to-day use. Just simply putting it close enough so it automatically attaches in the dark, where you don't have to reach and try to find a port by yourself when there's no light. So this is something that is quite beneficial. However, magnetic charging cables aren't completely new to the market, but VOLTA does claim to have quite a few advantages. One of it is being capable of Qualcomm's quick charging, so it should bring some faster speeds. Second of all, it also has kind of two layers of magnets if you look very closely, or at least there is two places where the contact pins can touch. With more contact pins, it should mean that the charging isn't quite as picky, and you can simply pop it in regardless of the orientation and it will still work. And again, that will be good news for people who want a quick charging as well as a more snug fitting magnetic cable. With that being said, VOLTA is still a little bit on the pricey side compared to regular cables. A kit which comes with one VOLTA cable in addition to two plugs, which you can pick, will charge $20. And you can get in the cable only without any tips for $14, and of course you can pick up extra connector tips separately for $7 a pop. So that can add up, especially if you're purchasing multiple sets that you would want to use with the entire kind of VOLTA ecosystem. But again, it could be worthwhile if you are looking for something that saves you time and has a pretty modern take on charging, and especially if you are in a darker environment where it's harder to exactly find where the position of the port is on your phone or device. So let's take a closer look at the packaging first. It does come in a few different color options. You can see that it comes in black, silver gold, or rose gold. So that those are the same color choices and accents as on Apple's devices. Cable length can range from 0.5 meters all the way up to 2 meters. And the parts here are made out of aluminum. The wire here is made out of braided nylon. And on the back here, some very basic info about how everything attaches together. And it's a modular kind of system. So even as more ports come out in the future, such as USB Type-C or even something newer than that, hopefully they will still be making more of these tips that will work with the cable itself. So you can throw away less cables and continue using this, hopefully, through the years. So again, fast, stable, quick charging, USB 2.0 for connecting to a computer, gold-plated connector tips. So let's take a quick look at the packaging here. We have here just the cable itself, and there's also this, which is used to unplug the connector tips from the phone if you don't want to yank it out using your hands, or if the part is a little bit too small to get without fingernails. Here we have what looks like, again, two USB Type-C kind of cable or ports already in this particular packaging. So again, this is what the USB Type-C version of the connector tip looks like. Setting this off to the side and looking just at the cable, we can see that the version here, I believe, is roughly going to be 1.5 meters long. The braided nylon material means that it's tear resistant and also tangle resistant, which is going to be a nice plus. Because this part is magnetic, it also attaches pretty easily to the USB end when you're not using it. So it can be more snugly kind of carried around without worrying about it getting tangled up in a bag or in a pocket. We do see that reflected with the charging contact pins being slightly larger, with the overall grooves and magnets also being slightly stronger as well. So hopefully that equates to a better ecosystem that will last you, again, for a longer period of use. Taking a closer look at the tips, first of all, they are very strong earth magnets, so everything kind of stays in place as kind of a mass, even if you're not using it. So it makes at least transportation, or at least safekeeping, a little bit easier. It's not quite as hard to lose them in isolation. The tips themselves are all gold-plated. That includes the USB Type-C as well as the micro USB, and that gold-plated connection means that it should theoretically have a stronger kind of connection with your phone's port and result in a more stable kind of transmission of both the data that you would want to pass between this and a computer or for charging purposes as well. The cable is now plugged into power. There's a small green LED that will illuminate to tell you that power is safely flowing through. The cable is going to support charging rates up to 5 volt 2.1 amps, which is good enough even for the Apple iPad and more power hungry devices. So of course it will work with most smartphones that typically use only 1 amp instead of 2 amps. So here we have a USB Type-C smartphone. Let's see if it fits in snugly enough. This is a reversible cable, so any direction will work. And indeed, it seems to stay quite snugly in place. As far as the protrusion, it's really not that bad. It does stick out ever so slightly, but it's not too noticeable, especially if you have a bumper or case on your phone anyways. Then it stays in place quite well and doesn't become too much of a hassle or a problem. As you stick it into your pocket or into a backpack, it should still stay in place without catching on anything too easily. So if we try to charge it now, the whole process should be, again, pretty instantaneous. It will fit on automatically, and you'll see that charging will begin without being tugged out by the magnetic tip. So the magnets are pretty firm and they stay in place. I can also reverse it and the other direction still works as well, as you can see there. So the charging process seems to be actually fairly quick and instantaneous, and even after kind of repeated use, you can see that it still stays in place and without accidentally tugging out, which is much more common on cheaper magnetic charging cables that we've seen in the past. They were a lot less reliable in that sense. Alright, so on a different device, such as on an older Android phone, where we have, let's say, a micro USB tip, let's see if it works equally as well. One thing I will point out is on certain devices, where the ports might be located on unusual spots, such as behind flaps for waterproof phones, or maybe if it's located on one of the edges, then that's where a solution like this could get a little bit more tricky. So keep that in mind. The most optimal position is still going to be with a charging port that's facing downward. Then same thing, it will begin charging the device and it will continue safely charging until battery reaches 100%, and then charging will turn off. So pretty easy to use. You can see that the light continues in that green color. It doesn't physically change the status light itself. That part is still done by the phone. But again, I can use various orientations and the process will still continue to work, and it also stays in place quite well. Even if you tug on it directly, it doesn't actually get pulled out by the plug. When it comes to charging rates and performance, I was also fairly impressed by VOLTA. Indeed, it gets you pretty close to Qualcomm QuickCharge speeds. It's not quite as fast as QuickCharge 3.0, but on a device that supports it, such as on an average Android phone with, let's say, a 3000 milliamp hour capacity battery, it will be fully charged in around an hour and a half, and it will get you, of course, 30 minutes of use in under 15 minutes. So it does work actually quite well. Even for devices that don't support a quick charging, it still is a pretty decent charging performer. It will, again, fully charge up an average Android smartphone in under 2 hours without any problems. The Apple iPhone, including the 7 as well as the 7 Plus, will be charged up in under 2 hours as well. So those are also fairly impressive rates. And again, during charging, the phone itself remains pretty cool in terms of temperature, and it's a safe charger, so it's not going to overheat or overcharge your device. So it does have those safety precautions despite this slightly smarter design going on. So that's pretty much it as far as our hands-on review of VOLTA is concerned. I would say that it certainly is one of the best, if not the best, magnetic wireless charging cable solutions on the market. But downsides would include the fact that it is a little bit pricey, and B, the fact that you are still having to plug in something separately into your device's ports. So if you are relying on your port for other peripherals, if you have a port that's hidden in an unusual location, such as behind a flap, or maybe even on a side of the phone, it's not going to be quite as elegant as on a phone that is having a port on the very bottom or on the very top. So those are just some things to very quickly keep in mind. But other than that, if you are dead set on having a magnetic charging solution for convenience and ease of use, the magnets that they're using here is very snug, and the charging rates are also very good as far as the speed is concerned. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been our video on VOLTA's wireless magnetic charging solution.